Hey everyone, welcome to the moon forecast video for the full moon we have in Leo coming up on January 25th. I'm Kendall with the Bohemian Tarot Girl and Wild Reawakening. Amy, give a shout out for yourself.
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm intuitive energy coach and moon circle leader at Wild Reawakening. And we've got a pretty powerful full moon coming in. There's a lot of big energy shifts happening around this moon, some before, some after. And it's really kind of starting to shake things up, and you're probably going to feel some intense energy coming in. So we've got a lot to discuss with this one.
Definitely. I really feel like when I looked at the energy, the message that really came to me was really like a test of fate. And it's really about making sure that you're focusing on what you want and not being distracted by all the other things that are coming into play. That was that message that really came to me for it. And we have a couple of big players with the moon, and I should mention the moon peaks at 9:53 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 12:53 p.m. Eastern Time. So just be aware of that. The energy goes over, the couple of days before and a couple of days after. So when you're doing your work and really thinking about this energy, make sure you're looking at it during that time frame. Um, One of the big players for me was the Jupiter square the full moon, and it was in Taurus, that earthy energy. And it was really that's that player that I think is going to potentially either hinder us or provide some greater resources into really making sure that we are moving forward in the direction that we want, because there's this energy of the potential that we're going to just enjoy ourselves and have too much fun, that we're going to get off track and not really focus in on what we want. How are you feeling about Jupiter?
Um, well, that is like a big intense energy that's coming in because
Yeah.
Jupiter, it's in Taurus, but Jupiter has that energy of kind of amplifying everything. And when it's squaring a planet, or as in this case, it's squaring both the sun in Aquarius and the moon in Leo. I was
Yeah.
like, what movie is this? Because just to, backtrack a little bit, but when we have these full moon energies, it's when we're having an opposition between the sun and the moon. And so they're at exact opposite placements on the chart. This case, it's, moon in Leo, sun in Aquarius. They're at 5 degrees. So if you want to take a look at where you most might be affected in your chart, go ahead and find 5 degrees of Leo in your chart and see which house that is in. And that can give you an idea of some of the themes that might be coming up for this. But when we have that opposition going on, and then we add both of those, creating this square to Jupiter, which is already kind of an uncomfortable, intense energy, um, it can really create kind of like a sense of, I might want to explain this one. It's like you might have some grandiose ideas come in around where you should be moving and what direction you want to go in, and kind of this higher sense of purpose as well with that. And so, and there's a lot of other energies that are going on
Yeah.
that could be affecting this as well, which we'll get into. But there could be some kind of big, bold um, ideas on how you want to move forward, or a sense of responsibility, or um, the direction that you feel like your purpose is being led in. And that, in this grand of a scale, can almost feel like you're being overwhelmed, or like you have this sense of duty. And I don't know about you, but a lot of times when I feel like I have this overwhelming sense of responsibility, it makes me want to kind of escape it in a way.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Instead of
Avoid.
facing it head on and really tackling it. It's almost like performance anxiety that could creep in during this time, where you're like, wow, I feel like I should be doing this, but am I up to par? Am I qualified? There can kind of be a sense of imposter syndrome that sneaks in. And we've talked about that before, but that's a very
Mhm.
very real energy when you're getting ready to level up or to step into something new. Um, so just keep that in mind. Like there's some really huge energetic shifts on a collective level that we're going to be talking about. Um, so if it feels like there's an intensity or a sense of being overwhelmed by the vastness of what is being shown to you in your life right now, um, just kind of take some time to sit with it and relax into it and realize that just because you're seeing an overall picture or having a sense of direction doesn't mean it has to happen at this very moment.
And also just don't get kind of waylaid into going
Yes.
off the deep end. I felt that was like what I got from it. I was like, oh man, just don't. I mean, it's great to have, some of these great ideas come in, but really make sure that you're doing it at your own pace, and that you're focusing on more of a long-term, goal versus having something happen right this second. So really hone in on this because you can have a lot of self-discipline issues come up with this energy where you're not really you might be able to pull it off for the few moments, but you really want to look at the long-term work that you're doing and making sure that you're not making choices in your life that are going to just waylay you and make you go on a path that you don't want to go on. So,
One of the major energies with this moon is that right before this moon happens, we had the shift from Pluto, which is it's an outer lying planet, it's a generational planet. It has a really long cycle where it stays in a sign for a long time. And it just moved into Aquarius like a few days before this. And not only did it just move into Aquarius, but it moved into Aquarius when it was conjunct with the sun at the same time being in Aquarius. And so this is a huge pivotal transition and energy going from it being in Capricorn, which we've been dealing with for the last 14, 15 years, of this kind of energy around structure and rules and patriarchal ideas and the things that kind of keep us grounded. And now we're switching that major energy and that theme into Aquarius, which is all about the collective and it's all about innovation and it's all about doing the greater good for humanity. And one of the things, because it's always good to go back and look at these past transits and when they occurred last. And the last time we had a Pluto and Aquarius cycle was during the American Revolution and the
yep.
French Revolution. And if you think about that, there was so much that happened during that time that really took away the power from you know, the monarchies at the time and gave it back to the people. And I think that over the next 20 years that we're in this cycle, we're going to start seeing a big shift in the collective and um, moving towards something that's more beneficial for society than what we've currently been dealing with. And as you can see right now, where things are getting really uncomfortable, because there's starting to be that shift of power. And a lot of people really are resistant to big
Yeah.
changes and shifts of power because they've been benefiting from them for so long. Um, and so, even though we're in the beginning stages of that shift, the energy has already started to pick up speed. And we're going to start noticing that we feel differently. Um, and it can be a really intense transition. um, you'll start to notice that there might be some more volatility. There might be some more resistance. There might be a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Um, Things that we were being shown that are kind of outdated or that are in need of a shift, and um, things that are going to be changing. And if you've listened to us, or if you've been paying attention to what's been happening in the world at all, before things can be rebuilt, they sometimes have to be torn down.
Yep.
So we're kind of in the middle of um, that energy where the things that are outdated are starting to crumble, and then we're going to be in a process of rebuilding over the next, many several years. But by the end of Pluto and Aquarius, I think that we'll look back and realize how much needed to change it, and how much more beneficial it is for the whole of humanity. At least that's what I hope. So,
Yes. No, I'm with you. Gotta look at it. It's going to be a good change. It's something that we need collectively. And I think the energy around what's going on in the world right now is definitely reflecting this change that we have coming up and that's just happened, and kind of moving forward with it. So, and we're right at the beginning of that energy. And so we have a long time. I think it's like 2041 it goes through, I want to say. So there
yeah.
is a long time for that shift to happen and for us to come out on the other side. So it's
And
just,
with it being a collective energy, sorry,
oh
go
no,
ahead.
you're good.
With it being a collective energy, it's like we feel this on a grand scale, but it also, it is a personal energy as well. And I know a lot of people get so focused on the outward, and we've talked about this a lot too. So they get so focused on the outward and what's happening, that they forget. And I just want to make sure that people hold this kind of close to their heart in a way, and to bring your focus more inwards, is that you're the one who's responsible for your own personal energy. And a big part of what's going to make this transit easier for you is if you really shift the focus to maintaining um, your own energy, and also making your well-being a priority. And that is a theme of a Leo moon, because, you know, as we have these
Yep,
oppositions, I mean, we have the energy of Aquarius and the sun, but then we have this Leo moon, and Leo is an energy that is very much self-focused, and it's about shining your brightest light forward, and about making an impact and an impression outwardly based on who you are and what your gifts and talents are. And so, really harnessing that part of yourself and putting your best foot forward in all situations, and really shining your light and your gifts at this time, especially if you've been feeling called to kind of step into something new, or bringing forth a hidden talent, or um, becoming more in tune with your intuition or your healing capabilities. Like, these are the things that the world is really going to need now. And if you're so outwardly focused and overwhelmed with what's happening outside of yourself, you might miss that opportunity to really make the best impact.
for sure. That's exactly what I was going to bring up was that. So you covered it for me.
I'm pretty wordy today.
It's all good. I'm so busy in my regular life right now. Today's kind of a blur. So the other piece that goes along with the Jupiter energy is the Saturn energy. And so we have these two pieces who have and are bringing in their own energy with the moon, and then we have them interacting together. So I want to talk really quickly about Saturn, and it's quincunxing the full moon, and it's in Pisces right at the beginning too, at that 5-degree mark. And it has a lot to do with when I'm thinking about it, more of the our relationships and the imbalances that we have, and even that on like a scale of who we work with, the friendships that we have, all those different relationships in their lives and how they're affecting us. and our goals and how we're trying to achieve them. And so just making sure that the imbalance is maintained with this Saturn energy, I think is really important. What were you
Mhm.
thinking about Saturn?
Yeah, Saturn and Pisces, it's really has the ability. I mean, it can go either way because Saturn can kind of be a difficult energy to deal with,
Yeah,
and it's not necessarily
not
comfortable
my
in
favorite.
Pisces because Pisces doesn't like structure and Saturn's all about structure. Um, but with it sextiling Jupiter in Taurus right now, um, it's kind of creating an ability also, besides what you talked about, but to bring in this grounding element and to realize, like, kind of a realization um, around your spiritual growth and like how far it's come in the last, several years, probably. I just on a like, we've been in this space of working in, the astrology and healing and kind of the metaphysical realm for a long time. I know I started back in, oh gosh, 2001, 2002 with my
Mhm.
own journey with this. And back then, nobody ever talked about. I was like the weird one at every social function
Mhm.
talking about all of this esoteric stuff back then. And we've mentioned before, like, the internet wasn't a huge thing. It
Nope.
was just starting out, so we didn't have access to this information, and really the only way you had access was if you went and found a mentor, which was hard to come by, or if you kind of hid out in the back section of the bookstore with all the all the witchy books looking at horoscopes and stuff. And so it's pretty amazing to see now how much more aware people are of energy and of astrology, and that they're leaning into their spirituality more in different ways, and finding their own pathway to connection. Um, and I'm totally getting off on a tangent here, but
Okay.
but I think it's really cool with this Saturn and Pisces energy, um, to which is interesting. Oh, so this is interesting because last time Saturn was in Pisces would have been, it's like a 30-year cycle, so 28, 30 years. So we're looking at back to the late 90s, which is what I kind
Uh-huh. Ah.
of just a realization on that. But to see like the how much things have shifted, and then to have this kind of more grounding and this progress in your own spiritual development as well. Um, and then recognizing, you're talking about how it affects relationships and the people that you work with. Um, I think that people are becoming much more aware of maintaining relationships with people on a personal level or a professional level that are much more in alignment with your own direction,
Yep.
instead of trying to people please and maintain all connections.
Yeah.
So,
I do think, when you look at them piecemeal, you have Jupiter, the Jupiter square energy with the moon, and then you have the Saturn quincunx energy with the full moon. And then you have the Jupiter sextiling Saturn. And I feel like that combination allows this wealth of availability to really grow and prosper and use those pieces to do what you need to do. But you have to realize it. I think that's when you see the combination of those two, you really see that you can actually use this to reach whatever goal that you want to reach at the long term. I think if you had looked at the energy and looked at them individually and not seen the combination of them, you can kind of go like, okay, well, I need to focus in on not like self-destructing, but also, that combination of that energy is also going to allow you to really grow and create structure in your life. And that's the same with your relationships too. So I think the combination is great, and using that energy that's coming from it to really make sure that you're focusing in on your goals, you're focusing in on long term growth, I think is important, and making sure that your structure around is not suffocating you and your and your ideas, your creative ideas, but there's also using it to make sure that you're pushing towards whatever goal that you're moving to.
Mhm. Then we also have, also in Taurus, and it's been in Taurus for a long time, Uranus
Hmm.
has been in Taurus since 2017. It's going to be there for, is it 2017 it went in there?
I think so.
2017. It's a 7-year cycle, and so we're not through with it yet. It's going to be there for another year or so, but um, it's been retrograde, and Uranus being about innovation and forward movement and shaking things up. When it's in retrograde, we kind of have things taking a long time and a little bit of a standstill. And I have been feeling that this whole winter's been like all hibernation on all levels. Um, but right after this moon on the 26th, Uranus goes direct.
Yep.
And when that happens, things will start to pick up. The energy moves forward in a swifter pace. You'll start getting more ideas. Things will start falling into place, but not just because of Uranus being direct, but because we will have all planets moving direct until April. And so if you've been kind of waiting for a burst of momentum or inspiration or just something to like finally stop feeling stuck, I think that this is going to be just the just the shift that you've been waiting for.
Perfect.
Um, so yeah, I'm like counting down the days.
You're waiting for that shift.
I need to stop feeling like I'm in sloth mode here. So this will be, I think, a good thing to really propel you forward. And so even with these like big other shifts and things being innovative and in new directions, like whatever has kind of been waiting in the wings for you to get going on, this is going to be the time and the momentum for that.
Yeah, I agree. Was there anything else you wanted to highlight?
Um, just one quick thing. We have Mercury and Mars conjunct in Capricorn. And one thing that I'm always aware of when Mercury and Mars get together, because Mars is action paced, but it can also be volatile and reactionary. And then we have Mercury, which is all about communication and that sort of stuff. Just be really conscious of making sure that you are saying exactly what you want to say and that you're speaking with intention, because it can there can be a propensity for um, creating situations by saying things that you don't mean
Hmm.
or speaking without thinking.
Yep.
So and to go along with that energy as well, we have those two planets are squaring Chiron and the North Node in Aries. Um, and Chiron is the wounded healer. The North Node is the direction we're moving on. They're going to be coming conjunct pretty soon here, which is kind of not a usual occurrence to have because Chiron is on a very long cycle as well. The North Node comes about every, what, 12 years ish, it switches. Um, 12, 15 years. I don't even remember. But um, regardless, it's not usual that those two come conjunct and then to have them squaring this other energy,
Yeah.
it can potentially bring up old patterning, show you old cycles that you thought you had moved past. Um, it can also kind of re-trigger old wounds that you thought might have been cleared up already. Just notice and try not to be reactionary to certain things that are being shown to you because it's really giving you the opportunity to realize how much you've healed from that, which is another aspect of Saturn and Pisces. Um, and that you don't need to fall back into those old
Patterns.
ways of being. So
Yep. I'm with you there. That one doesn't sound fun. And I'm hopeful Those old patterns, those just stay in the past.
There's a lot of intense energies around this moon, and it's not to like make your life difficult, but it's meant to kind of like show you where you're at now and the possibilities of where you can move forward in the future. But there has to be a certain level of awareness around what doesn't need to come with you, which is always the theme of the full moon anyway. It's like what are we willing to leave behind, and what is no longer serving us, and what are we ready to let go of, so that we really can fully embrace where we're going and what we're building and what we're creating and moving into. So um, try not to attach yourself to any of the anxious energy or intense energy or um, anything that feels overwhelming at this time.
Well put, Amy. That is a good reminder. Well, everyone, I hope you have a great full moon. We'll see you again for the next one. Sorry if you heard my dog snoring in the background. Okay, good. She was being really loud. We will see you next time at Wild Reawakening. Bye, everyone.